The two sides of our brain. Hi, my name is Ru, and my mission is to remind us all that we have the power to heal ourselves, to be a better version of ourselves, and to change our life the way we want to. The right side and the left side of the brain. The intuition, analytical. Why do we need to know about the brain? Well, it can help us understand how our mind, how our memories, and potential traumas that we have come through play in our life. The right side of the brain is developed in the womb. It is the first side that is developed. It is responsible for intuition, for our emotions, for visualizations, understand spatial and textual. This is how infants and mothers understand each other because of this connection through the right side. It is kind of like psychic. The left side of the brain actually develops later on in our lives. When we are starting to understand language and learning how to speak, that is when the left side of our brain develops. The left side of our brain responsible for linguistics, sequential, analytical, and it understands the passage of time. Why is that important? Well, without the left side, we won't understand that time has passed. Another thing to remember is where our memories are stored. Right side of our brain stores emotions, the sound, the touch, the smell of the events that occurred in the past. And the left side of the brain stores facts, statistics, and the vocabulary. So think of it as the right side is pretty much stores our emotional attachments to whatever event occurred, and the left side stores the actual event, like what actually was happening that transpired, and linguistic and vocabulary to explain it. Why do we need to know this? Well, there is very good information provided to us in The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. van der Kolk. The more we learn and understand, the better it will serve us. So during the 1990s, when the technology was growing, Dr. van der Kolk had 8 volunteers. And one of those volunteers was Marsha. And what they did, took their volunteers and scanned their brains, and they would play them recordings that would bring some memories out. So with Marsha, they played 2 recordings. One was just a normal morning routine. She was totally fine. Then they played the second recording. And this recording, however, reminded her of something that occurred in the past. During the time the scans were taken, Marsha, I believe, was in her 40s. A traumatic event that happened that triggered the memories occurred 13 years ago. Marsha was outgoing, happy woman. She was a teacher. She had a family. She had a 5-year-old, and she was already pregnant 7 months in. So one day she was driving, and her car was notating there was something wrong with the passenger seatbelt. What had happened was as Marsha leaned in and she was trying to make sure the seatbelt was fastened over her 5-year-old daughter, she accidentally ran over a red light. And what happened is the incoming car ended up hitting her and unfortunately killing her 5-year-old daughter and 7-month fetus. After that day, Marsha completely changed. She went into depression and she became a self-blaming person. And so when Dr. van der Kolk and his team played the recording that reminded her of that event, she went into stress. They noticed that her heart rate went up even though all she was doing was laying there and getting her brain scanned. She wasn't in danger, however, her brain was screaming, "You're in danger." And what they found after the scans is that the right side lit up and the left side shut off. The right side, the amygdala informs us when there is danger. Her amygdala was lit up. She believed she was in danger at that moment. The visual cortex also lit up. Visual cortex helps us see things and process what we're seeing. So in that moment, she was reliving that memory. She was seeing it happening right now, even though it wasn't. To her, in her mind, it was occurring right then and there. And the left side, the Broca's area, was completely off. The Broca's area, it's our speech center, is where we can communicate of what we're seeing. When the Broca's area goes off, we're no longer capable of communicating, of expressing ourselves. And so another thing we need to remember, when the Broca's area goes offline, we actually have a higher chance of a stroke. How many of you either experience it yourself or seeing someone else experience, they're going through such deep emotions that they can go completely quiet, or they can't make up the sentence. They become incoherent and you don't understand what they're trying to say. They're making weird noises. They're not being logical. That's because their left side, the Broca's area, has shut down. When we go to see a therapist, right, and we're trying to communicate about the traumatic event that occurred, we're literally having our right side of the brain lit up. So we're reliving it at that moment as we speak about it, right, as we try to speak about it. But the left side goes off and we cannot really talk about it. So what happens, we create this cover story. The cover story is just kind of gives you excuse for our bad behavior. Something occurred, that person behaved that way or whatever, and we go into reactive mode. Another thing we need to remember, reactive mode comes from survivalism. When we believe that we need to survive and we're in a place where it's fight or flight, we have to react. Our brain doesn't have time to just sit down with this threat that we believe we're in and be like, well, hold on a second, please don't hurt me, let's talk about it. We don't have that. We go straight into reaction. It's either flight or fight. And so we end up sometimes becoming and behaving in such ways that hurt other people. And here is the thing we need to remember is that truly it's not that person that had caused, or the traffic or whatever event that made us feel so angry, right? Put us in such reactive mode. It is actually within us. And what had transpired, whatever, is that whatever event that happened, the sound of it, the smell of it, whatever it is, brought us back to our traumatic moment that occurred to us in the past. And without realizing, we reacted in the way that is hurtful. And so here is our chance to look into ourselves and to figure out what can we do, right? What cover stories are we giving? It could be that, oh, well, this person made me so mad, it's their fault. Or the traffic is so bad, I'm angry. That is cover story. In truth, there is something much deeper that is affecting you. Your brain screams danger. We have to understand how to allow our brain to understand the time has passed. Whatever traumatic event that occurred some time ago, it's no longer here. And therefore, we are no longer needing to react to anything. We can simply respond. But how do we do it, right? When our right side lights up and our left side shuts off, how can we inform our left side to remind us the passage of time, that this event, this painful event that we went through is no longer here. And this is why if we don't face it, if we don't become aware of it, the trauma repeats itself. So I would like to challenge you and to find out what is your cover story. Share it down below in the comments, like this video, share it with people. The more we share the good stuff, the healthy things that help us learn and become the better version of ourselves, the better life will be. One thing that I would recommend, even though you don't really know me, is that don't watch anything negative. Watch more positive things. The less negative we watch and hear, and the more positive we do, will help us to understand we're not living in the negative world. We actually are living in the positive world. And it is our time to wake up, to become better version of ourselves, and to provide this environment, because remember, we have the ability to create an environment that is safe and it's thriving, and it all starts with us.